Hello, everyone. It's Charlton. Please subscribe to my channel. Tap the notification bell. I'd appreciate it majorly. And sort of wanted to just update you on the stranded cruise ship, the Zaandam, the Holland America cruise ship that, has a number of sick people on it. Some of them have tested positive for COVID-19. The sick people who have influenza or flu-like symptoms, I would say it's, the high likelihood that a number of them, if not all of them, have COVID-19 as well, or most of them. And I think it's up to 193 that have those type symptoms. Now, four people have already died, and now it's, I think, a total of 8 have tested positive for COVID-19. However, I think that they just had very limited number of test supplies when another Holland America ship, the Rotterdam, basically met them at the Panama Canal to give them assistance, to help them, because they're totally stranded, and it still remains unknown whether they're going to be allowed to port in and disembark, or whether one or both ships are going to be allowed to port and disembark in Florida at Fort Lauderdale. The governor of Florida, DeSantis, has been speaking with reporters on this. He's said he's been in talk, speaking, talking with the White House on how they're going to deal with it. And um, he seems a little reluctant to just flat out let them disembark because of the limited resources that every state has, particularly Florida, which seems to be like it's going to be a hot spot, and they expect that they're probably going to get a surge. We don't know if it's going to be something like New Orleans is expecting, and what New York is pretty much almost in the middle of. So, it just remains unknown. And they're having some kind of emergency meeting tomorrow, Broward County officials. I assume the governor is going to be a part of that meeting to determine how to deal with the situation. And, we'll see. We'll see what the decision is. There's Americans on the Zaandam, 305, out of 1,243 passengers and another 500 some crew members, and I don't know the makeup of the remainder of the passengers. I think there's a number of Canadians. I think over 200. I think there's some from the UK and some Australians. I don't exactly know how this gets made up. It was originally supposed to start. It started in Buenos Aires and was supposed to end in Chile. I don't know how that all works, but there's 305 Americans on the boat, now. So whether some of those are sick or not, probably some. The likelihood is that some of them are, and I think some of them are Florida residents, I would think. I don't know. I've read in the tweets that some of them are, from Central Florida, but I don't know. So, and I'll get to some of the specifics in a second, but basically, it was a ship that was out at sea right when pretty much the whole cruise industry halted all operations, which is on March 13th. But at that time, there were a number of cruises that were already in progress, and this was one of them that began on March 7th, was supposed to finish on March 21st in Chile somewhere, and days before that, Chile had closed all of its ports and basically closed its borders to the outside, restricting travel and so forth. I think some of the people that were on board that were direly sick, were waiting for a final decision from the Chilean or Chile authorities because I believe the cruise wanted to port and basically fly everybody home, or have people make arrangements to fly everybody home, fly themselves home, and they were refused port, and I think they were actually seeking to medevac some of the most most sick persons. I think it's at that point that the 4 persons died, as I understand it. That's how it kind of reads in this statement here from the Holland America, from the CEO or the president of Holland America, which is a subsidiary of Carnival Cruises. It's based out of Seattle. Carnival Cruises, I think, the largest cruise liner in the world. I don't really understand why, part of it is UK based and part of it is based in the United States, but it is. And this subsidiary is based out of Seattle, Seattle, Washington. And so this president's statement, Orlando Ashford, who's pleading with countries to show compassion to allow these people to, to port and get help, whether it's the United States or wherever, and basically all these countries. I mean, as this was unfolded, and as this COVID crisis was, unfolding day by day, these countries were closing their borders right at the same time. So basically, Argentina, Chile, Peru, they all wouldn't allow this ship to port, or any ship, And then they were stuck at the Panama Canal for a period of time. And the Rotterdam, another Holland America ship, met them there, to basically get the healthy passengers and healthy crew off the Zaandam and onto the Rotterdam. I assume leaving enough crew on the Zaandams to obviously man it and sail it. But it was still unknown whether or not the Panamanian authorities were going to allow both ships to go through the Panama Canal because according to, maritime health guidelines of the Panamanian authorities, but the rule was that if any ship has passengers or persons on it that tested positive for COVID-19, they wouldn't be allowed to transverse or go through the Panamanian Canal. But the Panamanian authorities did allow it, and they basically are on their way to Florida and almost there. And now, it's basically in limbo, and we're waiting for a decision whether or not the U.S. Coast Guard is more or less guarding and not necessarily allowing them into, U.S. waters until they get a decision either from the governor or from the White House of what they're going to do. I mean, Ron DeSantis is considering, is sort of leaning towards, we'll see. I assume, one way or another, I believe, the U.S. authorities, the White House, or the governor are either going to let them port or make arrangements to have them in Fort Lauderdale, or make arrangements to have them port at another state further up the eastern seaboard, probably a state that's not expecting such a large surge in cases like Florida is, possibly, and that might be an option. But Ron DeSantis is right now leaning towards, just sending medical professionals, medical personnel to the ships to help in that regard, but not necessarily allowing, I don't know, either one or both ships to port. Because, and I'll read what he said to Fox. I guess somebody from Fox spoke to him. It's The Guardian that's kind of got some of his words. Basically, he's saying that they've prepared for a surge in their own state, and they've actually, they have some additional hospital beds for the surge they're expecting, and he's not quite ready to give up those resources to somebody that's not a Florida resident or whatever. But I tried to make this video a couple times now, and I don't even know if I mentioned there's 305 Americans on the Zaandam, and it's quite likely that some of those are from Florida. I think I did mention that. I don't know the entire makeup of the passenger list. I know I saw another article days ago, because I made the video of this on Friday when they were stuck at the Panamanian Canal, that I think there's over 200 that are Canadians, and I think there's some people from the United Kingdom, some Australians, and so forth. So, but here's what basically. Ron DeSantis was telling Fox News right here. On Monday, DeSantis, which is today, on Monday, DeSantis told, I mean, there's even pictures of, I don't know if it's here, where you could see the Coast Guard basically sort of guarding, for the arrival of these ships. Where is it? I know I saw a picture of something like that. Maybe not. Anyways, on Monday, DeSantis told Fox News that many of the people on board were, quote, foreigners that he did not want to see dumped in his state, adding that he was in contact with the White House about the approaching vessels. The health of passengers and crew has worsened in the past week after several Latin American countries refused to let Zaandam into port, with 189 people sick with flu-like symptoms as of Monday morning. 2 people tested positive for COVID-19 on board last week, and 4 have died, although the cause of death are not known. Let me just stop real quick right there because those numbers aren't totally accurate. I think it's 8 people have, and initially it was reported that 2 were tested positive for COVID-19. But this statement from the president of Holland America, Orlando Ashford, says 8 people have tested positive for. It says already 4 guests have passed away, and I fear other lives are at risk as of March 30th, which was basically yesterday. It's after midnight now, so it's March 31st. 76 guests and 117 crew on Zaandam have influenza-like illness, so that's 193. If I did my math right, including 8 people who have tested positive for COVID-19. We have seen a notable and steady decline in the cases of the last 48 hours, which shows the immediate actions we took have helped to contain the spread. So initially on Friday, when I was talking about the story at the Panama Canal, it was 138. So it's grown to 193, but in the last 48 hours, this individual, Orlando Ashford, is saying, the increase in cases has declined, so it seems as though maybe they have contained it for now. But, and that very well may be, but with the number of persons on this vessel, it was 1,243 passengers, 500 some crew, and then you have the crew of the Rotterdam too. In just the nature of the cruise ship itself is just it's conducive to spread totally. So I just don't know that you can state that confidently. That they've contained it, and but I don't live in Florida, so it's probably easy for me to say. But I would, my inclination is to say that they got to let these people, let the boats port. At a minimum, at least up at a state that's a little bit north of Florida that's not expecting such a big surge. But they have to do something. There's 305 Americans on there, and even if there wasn't, almost, you have to, they need help, man. And so, and the people on Twitter, it's both. You have both, but there's some that are just flat out. I saw several, people, and I think several have been deleted by Twitter, basically thanking Ron DeSantis and thanking some of the Broward County officials for, taking caution and not necessarily letting them port, and saying some pretty, pretty stunning stuff, So, but the numbers right now are 1,160 healthy guests and 1,130 healthy crew across the 2 ships. And actually over at Fox News, it's got the breakdown between like how many. They must have left enough crew on the Zaandam to obviously man and ship the vessel, ship the cruise ship. So following the transfer of healthy guests to the Rotterdam, there are now 446 guests and 602 crew on the Zaandam. Okay, so I just don't know. If there's 446 guests remaining on the Zaandam after transferring healthy guests to the Rotterdam, according to the statement from the cruise liner, 193 are showing influenza-like, symptoms, but 193 is not 446, and that's what remains on. I guess, and that's in addition to the 193. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I don't know why. I guess they don't. I don't know why they haven't transferred those healthy guests. Following the transfer of healthy guests to the Rotterdam, there are now 446 guests, and 602 crew on the Zaandam. The crew I can understand, but are they saying that the 446 guests are unhealthy? I don't know. 797 guests and 645 crew on the Rotterdam. When I added up these two in my head, it was 2,300 basically total. I don't know. Probably should have done my math before I got on here. That's basically almost 2,300 right there. Over here, what do you have? 446. That's that's 1,050. And then, so that's 1,700 with that. 1,700 plus, 1,700 plus 800 is 2,500. 2,500. 2,500 here, 23 over at the statement from the cruise liner. I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy for sure. So I didn't finish reading my statement from the government. Let me just, governor of Florida. Let me start over as quickly as possible. On Monday, DeSantis told Fox News that many of the people on board were foreigners that he did not want to see dumped in his state, adding that he was in contact with the White House about the approaching vessels. The health of passengers and crew has worsened in the past week after several Latin American countries refused to let the Zaandam into port, with 189 people sick with flu-like symptoms as of Monday morning. 2 people tested positive for COVID-19 on board last week, and 4 have died, although the causes of death are not known. More than 1,200 passengers from the UK, the US, and other countries have been confined to their cabins for over a week, with 73 guests and 116 crew members on the Zaandam having reported influenza-like illnesses. DeSantis told Fox News on Monday, I think a lot of these are foreigners. We've done a really good job of working to clear hospital space. I think we have almost 33% of the beds are available right now, particularly in South Florida, where we have set up field hospitals in case we get a surge. We cannot afford to have people who are not even Floridians dumped into South Florida using up those valuable resources. So I'm in contact with the White House on this. I'm in contact with the local county officials in both Broward and Miami-Dade. But yes, we view this as a big, big problem, and we do not want to see people dumped into southern Florida right now. But the president of Holland America Cruise Lines, Orlando Ashford, said on Monday that lives are at risk unless nations step up now to allow for the rescue. And, it's obviously, it's pretty dire. I mean, somebody's gonna have to take them, man. I mean, it's just, it's a lot of people, and I don't know, dude. I don't think you have a choice. You're gonna have to help them. I mean, I guess that's easy for me to say, and so that's pretty much the whole situation. And we'll see tomorrow morning. They're supposed to meet and determine whether or not they're just going to send medical professionals out to the ships to help them. We don't know. Maybe they'll let one of the ships port, the one that's got all the healthy people on it. But I think, um, I'm sure some people believe that there's probably got to be people intermingled within the healthy people that are actually have contracted the disease, but just haven't been tested yet, and they're not showing symptoms yet. So will they even allow one of the ships to port is unknown, or whether they'll just send medical professionals out to the one with the sick and help them there, which I can't be easy either. It's really pretty crazy. But it's at a minimum, I would think they got to at least send them up to the north, more north up the eastern seaboard, and have them port, at a different state where there's a little bit more resources, maybe something. I would think, but like I said, that's easy for me to say. And that's the story there, man. Thanks for watching my videos. Please subscribe to my channel. Give me a like down below. I'll see you in the next video. Later, man.